Second. I'll take the second.
Lori got it.
No, I didn't say a word.
It's you and Bridget.
Chad and Bridget. Chad and Bridget, we'll call it.
Just throw it in the place.
Chad first, Bridget second.
Bridget,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Brett.
Yes. All right, 1C, if you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, 1D, District Vision and Mission. Do I have a volunteer?
Can I
Lori?
please?
Lori?
Sally's Polk will learn, lead, live. Success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
Thank you very much. All right, 1E, we're gonna go ahead and do public comments. We're gonna go ahead and start out though recognizing our Southeast Polk wrestlers. And we do have to apologize because we did not forget about you after the big win. But we forgot about you after the big win. So I don't know any other way to say it, but anyway, welcome tonight. And you want to say a few things? Or?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say we had a lot of fun this year. Yes, I'm got a big voice. I just. So, yeah, thank you all for having us. Much appreciated and better late than never. So we do appreciate being recognized. Really fun year for us. A lot of community support. We had probably the fewest behavioral incidences that we have ever had. We finished the year with about 80 young men. We just had a tremendous success this year. We took a little bit of criticism from the wrestling community because our main goal was to keep our guys healthy above all else. So we missed a tournament here and there and caught some criticism for that. But, you know, our guys' health was important to us. We had an amazing year. We had, obviously we won, you know, both the duals and the traditional state title. The state title was about 1% away from breaking the all-time record being 225 points, and we scored 221.5 points. So we were right there until the second to last match of the tournament. We still had an opportunity to break that record. Had 13 state qualifiers, 11 place winners, 5 finalists, and 3 champions. And Nico DeSalvo, who's a freshman, Carter Pearson, who's a junior this past year, and Mike Slade, who was a senior this year and has since moved off to Campbell University for Division I wrestling. But super fun group of guys, you know, brought a little attention to ourselves because the Iowa State University had a few weeks before all dyed their hair blonde. And so our guys proposed to do the same thing. And Coach Jake Agnich, who was coaching his daughter's soccer game here tonight, couldn't be here. He said to the guys, he said, all of you or none of you. And so they all went in together and stuck out as a crowd. And it was a good kind of morale boost after we'd already rather handedly won the first dual title a few weeks earlier. So just appreciate everybody's support. Appreciate the support of the athletic administration, et cetera, the administration of the high school. Teachers are always willing to work with, you know, us trying to help keep our guys eligible, letting them retake the test. They stay within policies, of course, but it's always nice to get some grace. And we're constantly preaching to our kids, to our wrestlers, that they need to be in class, that they need to be polite, that they need to be studious and courteous. And that helps getting those good graces of the teachers. So we work hard to keep those kids on the straight and narrow and with good reputations within the school district. So the girls program's growing rather rapidly right now, as Mr. Crabb's aware. We just got a Prairie Meadows grant to help that program out. So that'll be tremendous. And then we just never really stop. The Olympic wrestling styles are in the summer, and we do a lot of fundraising to help the kids be able to pay for their tournaments, their camps, their travels, their flights, their hotel rooms, you name it. So work hard to provide all these kids opportunities. I think what's really special about the Southeast Polk program, this comes down from head coach Jace Christensen, is that every kid gets every opportunity. We don't pick and choose favorites. We don't say you're the best guy, so you get this opportunity, and they're all on the equal playing field. They all get every opportunity that they've ever wanted, from the very best to the very worst. And then we don't have to choose who they are in the lineup. They sort themselves out and they decide how much time they want to put in, how much work they want to put in, and et cetera. So we've got, probably not even arguably, we have an even better team coming back this year, and the rules have changed that will favor us even more. So we're expecting another big year, knock on wood, but we'll continue to, keep them in good academic standing and make sure that they're good members of the community. So thank you very much for your support.
Yep. Thank you very much. And we want to get a picture with the wrestlers and coaches that are here, and then
And congratulations.
yeah.
Thank you.
And then we'll do this again in 5 months.
Okay. Like so.
No pressure. We'll set the date. You just show up.
Yeah. No.
We're doing great. Here we go.
You guys look fabulous.
Wait, yeah, 1, 2, 3. One more. And then just one more in case. Got it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Horton, it's easy to get these guys to wrestling practice. It's hard to get them everywhere else. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Jasmine.
All right, we'll continue with public comments. If there's anybody else that would like to address the board, you have 5 minutes as a group, 3 minutes as your lonesome self. So who's going first? Someday we'll get you. Yeah, no Phyllis here. Oh, speaking of that, you guys did miss a good presentation on Altoona High School.
I viewed it on Saturday.
Did you?
It was kind of cool.
All right, we'll see none. We'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for administration? Hearing none. Karen?
Kelly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Item number 2, new and old business. 2A is public hearing for the easement of Mid-American Energy at the Skilled Trades Building. Go ahead and open the hearing at 5:38. Mr. Vakana, have you had any emails or written comments or questions?
I have not.
Anybody in the audience want to talk about this? Nope. Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 5:39. And 2A1 is approve the easement for Mid-American Energy for the Skilled Trades Building. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the resolution approving conveyance of interest in real property to Mid-American Energy regarding the skills trade project.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, Karen?
Lori,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Chad,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
All right, item 3A, enrollment update. Is you or Mr. Horton, or you? You're up. We're going so quick tonight.
Intentionally brief. Got all the information. We've seen this form probably 100 times or any, obviously we're still hovering around that 100+ number in student growth, which is great. Probably have just about as many blue sections this time around as we did last time around, although they've switched places in a couple spots, but for the most part, feeling pretty good about class averages, class sizes, things like that. So I guess I'll be here to answer questions tonight.
Any questions? All right, hearing no questions, don't go away yet. I heard that it is Mr. Horton's birthday.
Oh, yeah. There comes a time when the birthdays mean far less maybe than they used to, and I'm certainly at that point. But thank you.
You turned 35, is that?
Yeah, I wish. I wish.
Anyway,
50,
so,
59, man, getting there. 59-year-old grandfather. Who'd have thought it? I've just texted my sister, who's older than I am, this morning after she was giving me grief about it. And I said, how does it feel to have a 59-year-old grandpa for a little brother? And then the teasing stopped.
So I'm gonna continue embarrassing you, and we're just gonna sing happy birthday.
Oh,
I think it's
boy.
only right. So we did it to Dirk, we gotta do it to you.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
I don't remember that.
But anyway, all right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mr. Horton, Dr. Horton.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you very much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. We just had to make the meeting go a little bit longer. Anyway.
There you go. Get in the time limit.
So is there any questions for Mr. Horton? All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a birthday that we missed? No, you're not gonna admit it? All right, technology update.
Good evening.
Is it your birthday?
No, it's not.
Can we sing to you?
No, please don't. But we are on the verge of maybe one of the shortest meetings in my 14 years. So I want to do my part to contribute to that success.
All right.
So I'll keep the update brief and then we'll see what questions you might have for me. So really the summer has been largely about just device refresh. So we've got a large district, a lot of staff and a lot of students, and just rotating devices in and out, keeping things updated is a full-time job. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. We just refreshed K through 5 and 12th graders, and there's just a lot of logistics behind the scenes, working with vendors to get the Chromebooks here and shipping delays and whatnot. And but we made it in time. All the kids had their Chromebooks on the first day of school. And so that was a success. We had middle school come online, and there was just a lot of moving pieces there as well. But I think overall things went really well. It was some good lessons learned. It was kind of my first experience with bringing on a brand new building of that size. We'd done the remodel project at Mitchellville and some other small projects, but never a building the size of the middle school. So I think I'm more ready when we go to do the next elementary or whatever building we do. And we are in the midst of the Spring Creek renovation for the administration. So I've been involved with that kind of behind the scenes in terms of some of the technology needs and infrastructure needs for that project as well. So one of the big initiatives that we've been working on is dealing with the State of Iowa Security Initiative. And we've put additional cameras at all of the buildings. The elementaries received the most cameras because they had by far the least cameras. So now for most every elementary, we have around the perimeter of the building, we have coverage of 95% of the area. And we have coverage of every entrance and exit within the building. And then some of the major hallways within elementaries, we also have pretty good coverage as well. So undoubtedly, there'll be probably more requests by principals for additional coverage, and that could be a phase 2 or phase 3 down the road. But I think we're in really good shape. We also increased the number of badge readers, access control points in some of the buildings that needed those. We have been working on getting door position sensors. So when a door is ajar, when it's open, we'll know. That's still in progress. Part of the project were the emergency radios that we have in each building. We have one kind of base radio in each office. So we're going to supplement those with some handheld radios. So if there is a crisis, the principal can grab that radio and then be in touch with law enforcement and with district office as well. Because district office, once they move to Spring Creek, will have a set of radios as well. That's still in progress, waiting on Raycom to deliver the handheld radios to the buildings and then provide some basic training for those. Vape sensors at some of the buildings, just different small projects. We've really hit this last year. We've really hit our new employee onboarding and orientation really hard. And that's pretty much completely all online. It's automated. It's working really closely with HR and with payroll to just streamline the processes. So as employees do things online, things don't need to be printed. They just kind of flow electronically, and we have various levels of approval. They get routed to the individual that needs that approval at the time. So that project is going well, and we'll expand that to other areas as well, just to improve our efficiencies and how we process information and house that information as well. So that's my quick update. Lori, I know you gave me a heads up that you'd have a question.
Question, but it made me think of another one. With the middle school, we went to carts again, because how much damage did we have with the Chromebooks?
Well, it was just an ongoing thing where Chromebooks were just being damaged a lot. We do have our break fix insurance that does help cover some of that, but the default repair fee for parents of students who broke their Chromebook was just a flat $50 fee. Unless the Chromebook were unrecoverable, then it'd be the full cost of the Chromebook. So yeah, so I know working with Mr. Bala, he just wanted to see fewer incidents with Chromebooks, because when Chromebooks are out for repair, then there's kids need a Chromebook for educational purposes in the classroom. Then we're having to provide loaners while those Chromebooks are in repair. And then the number of kids that had Chromebooks in for repair exceeded the number of loaners we had available. So they wanted to kind of give the cart system another try. So we worked with Nathan, got those carts all set up, and we'll kind of see how this first year goes and make some modifications for year two.
Okay. But no, you don't think we had any drastic increase in costs with the Chromebooks that were damaged, or could you shoot me a number sometime?
Well, no, but well, I mean, we didn't, because that break fix insurance
I covered it.
covered most of the
Okay.
repairs, yeah.
And then the question, yes, I gave you a heads up, was the high school phone system, the directory, you can't probably get it to work. I just wanted, I know that I'm just giving that question.
Yeah.
If we could look into getting that system to work sometime the way it was meant to, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly test that, and then
I
I'll
would-
let you know when we think it's
And then,
working, and then you
yeah,
can test it and
let
let
me
us know.
dial a whole bunch of people's names.
Yeah,
and
and
if it
see.
works,
Yeah.
'cause I can't get it to work.
Yeah,
And I've never been able to.
okay.
Could be the user.
I
right
doubt
here. Could be. That's my only question.
Okay.
Is there anything exciting coming up on the technology front next year or two?
You know, the Clever Touch project was our, where we added the audio enhancement to every classroom and Clever Touches, and that was kind of our big initiative, and it's really just kind of maintaining that technology in the buildings and keeping devices current and refreshed. And I'm sure within a couple of years, there'll be something new on the horizon we'll start aiming for, and then we'll kind of be back maybe within another phased project to kind of do that sort of project.
Okay, it's kind of maintenance. mode.
Maintenance right now, yeah. Yeah.
You're so good at solving problems. Anything you can do about the milk carton situation?
No.
Side ends.
Anything
Okay,
else?
thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 3C, renew program update.
Everybody knew this might be a quick one, so they brought the long-winded guy to fill some time. I'm gonna go ahead and try to stick mostly to the presentation here on the slides that you all have access to. And then there's questions afterwards. So Renew is probably obviously a new name for a lot of folks in this room. This year with my new position, as well as almost a completely new staff at the Success Program, we thought what a better time to, we'll call it rebrand, but really give us a chance to kind of take a whole look at the program of itself, or in and of itself, and figure out maybe where it's at, where we want to go with it, and start talking about how we get there. So renew, we're really looking at those relationships, empowered, non-judgmental, equipped, and worthy. Our mission is really straightforward when we think about the program itself. Work with students and provide intentionally designed support and instruction to students with severe social, emotional, and mental health needs. I think that's something that we're seeing more and more. I know from the 5 years now that I've been here, the frequency of us having students that might go in and out of an Orchard Place placement or other residential facilities seems to be more of a common thing than I can remember from earlier in my career. We want to be a bridge then also for those students specifically that are coming back from some level of residential or outpatient services that has prevented them from really being at school. And again, when we're going to look at transitioning students back into their home building as soon as they're prepared. So when we look at that, kind of digging in a little bit deeper, again, some of the things that are still pretty standard, it is a program to work with students who have IEPs. Again, we're looking at a priority to students with mental health diagnosis or otherwise have had significant attendance problems due to anxiety or similar issues. A comment in there about just students who participate in the standard state assessment. We know we have some students who are on the alternate assessment. We're trying to kind of keep our focus in on who can we best support and what other programs do we have that already exist. So we feel like we have some pretty stellar programs that already kind of work with the students that are on alternate assessment in our different secondary buildings. Again, a little redundant here, but again, looking at working with students who are transitioning back from residential or alternative placement. Some examples on there, there's obviously more than this, but Orchard Place, Boys Town, Ellipsis, Woodward, Polk County Detention, those are all places that I think annually we have students that are kind of transitioning back from. Also, maybe students who have existed the continuum of services within their home building. This is going to be a big focus for us as we try to work with students that we're supporting. Have we done everything that we can in those home buildings to make sure that we're serving a student in the least restrictive environment? And then really trying to target's probably not the right word, really trying to best support students in grades 8 through 12. That gives us a few different advantages, especially with our current and future location as we work on transitioning students from our program back into their home buildings. Having everything right on that campus makes it's conducive to being able to get kids maybe over to the high school for a few periods back with us as we start to build that transition plan.
So when you say home building,
yeah,
you're talking about junior high and high school.
Yeah. So if you're a 10th grader, the high school is your home building in presentation.
Okay.
Yep. Again, when we're thinking about what is it, I'll be honest. In the 4 years prior to this, I've worked with the Success Program. We've had students from the high school go to the Success Program. Really wrapping my mind in my assistant principal role over what that program was. Maybe didn't always have that clarity. So one of the things is we're seeking to provide clarity to really everybody over what that program is going to be. So again, designed to help support students who have experienced mental health struggles, which negatively impact their ability to succeed in the general school program. Again, working on providing those targeted supports with the goal of reintegrating them back into whatever their quote unquote home building would be. And just kind of a bullet there, the Renew program does exist as part of our special ed continuum of services. We would really look at that as one of the most restrictive options because it's taking a student out of their home building and into a completely separate environment. Then there's just a bullet point that shows our special ed continuum of services kind of going down. Most restrictive in the building would be that self-contained program. And then we would exist beyond that. Again, looking at when would a student attend Renew, again, there's going to be more than 3 bullets, but to try to keep things somewhat brief in my non-brief style, really that top one that we look at is a student returning from a residential setting. Again, Orchard Places seems to be pretty common. After a significant mental health struggle, again, significant self-harm would be an example of something. And again, after the home building has exhausted the continuum with limited to no success. An important note, this is an IEP team decision, so that there's no automatic placement if a student's coming back from an Orchard Place. We're not going to mandate you have to go here. I think in a lot of cases, it's going to be something that we would strongly advocate for in those IEP meetings, but it does need to make sure it happens within that IEP team decision. And then really just some nuts and bolts to kind of dig deeper into the program. How would a student begin? Initially referring school conducts an IEP meeting to discuss possibility of a referral. So if it's junior high, high school, you start having that conversation. And then we do have just a simple Google form that either a counselor or administrator from that building would fill out. Doesn't take more than a few minutes, but it would just notify myself and the teachers within the program, and I think also Leah Morris, that there's been that referral, gives us that initial information, gives us a chance then as the team to review that referral and as well as the student's IEP data. At that point then, if needed, I can obtain more information from the referral source. If I have questions after looking at the IEP, looking at the referral, obviously I won't hesitate to reach out. We then want to, if possible, be able to have our teachers come over and actually meet the student and observe the student in the environment that they're working in. And I put if possible, because we also know that if a student is on their way back from a placement, that's probably not something that's possible. We make that decision on intake. An IEP team meeting is conducted so that we put a plan in place and get that student ready to go. I think an important part that I don't have as a bullet point on here would be kind of within that intake meeting. One of the things that we want to talk about is what does an eventual transition plan look like to get that student back into, more of the gen ed environment back in their home building. And that's going to look different for every student because every student has different needs. But just trying to formalize that so that we know what success looks like for each student we're working with and know that we're building towards getting them back into a lesser restrictive environment. The curriculum is something that is going to be ongoing here for a while. So we know that the number one priority is going to be to address the students' mental health needs through some explicit instruction for their behavior. The Renew teachers obviously will focus on all goal areas as outlined in the IEP. The high school students that are in there, obviously credit bearing age. We know that we have Edgenuity that students can work on and receive support from their teachers. We want to work on building more than just Edgenuity. I know as we look kind of into the future and when the programs are all under one roof with access to the harbor right there, I've already talked to my harbor teachers and kind of tasked them with, hey, can we take what we have for our courses on our online, so our in-person courses, but our online documents and everything that we would have to support our students in class. Can we figure out how we can maybe mold some of that to create some more self-paced, but with guided support from the Renew teachers so that we don't just have Edgenuity for our students. Right now, we don't have an English teacher and a social studies teacher assigned with 2 teachers. So looking to kind of tap into that as a resource to maybe improve upon our offerings, hopefully in the near future. My goal is by second semester is to have a couple of those course options so that we can hopefully start to implement those. And again, collaboration between Renew teachers and home building staff is pivotal. We have a great 2 teachers in the program right now. I'm thrilled to have them. They've been at Southeast Polk for quite some time. They're new into this role, but they also haven't been teaching 8th grade, and they haven't been teaching different subject areas. We have somebody who's been a reading specialist, which is great. Somebody who's a behavior specialist. Awesome people. They're tapping into teachers in the junior high, teachers at the high school to help collect some work and some things that they can help provide to their students so that we have some academics that we're working on in there outside of Edgenuity. Kind of the next piece as we go, communication to our home buildings. We want to really up the ante on our communication in general within this program, both to home buildings and to parents. But our plan right now is we're going to begin bi-weekly reports. So if you're the junior high and you have 4 students, 5, however many students in the program, we're going to send you every 2 weeks. Here's an update of how Billy's doing, Susie's doing, things like that. Renew staff in the home buildings will continue to collaborate through the IEP process. So we just want to make sure that when we have those meetings, that it's not just our Renew teachers, the family, and myself. We want to make sure we're bringing in that home building so that they continue to be aware of how the student is doing, plus the decisions that are being made within those IEP meetings. We want to provide transparency regarding all our students that are served. So secondary building administrators will be provided kind of with, here's our caseload right now and just what our reality looks like. Molly Brandhorst, who's our counselor within all of the programs that I'm supporting. She and the home building counselors will collaborate in that counseling role for a few different reasons, right? We want to ensure that students are earning some credits while they're there and that they're the proper credits. We also want to make sure we're providing the right level of support, and they're another integral piece of that handoff from a home building to our program, and then hopefully at some point back to the home building. So we'll have that collaboration that'll be ongoing. And then just as we go through the year, we want to make sure we're collecting some data so we can look back at our program and try to determine, have we been successful? Looking at success, what that entails. We want to look at the students we've served, the credits we've earned within the program. Have we transitioned students back? Do we have students that are meeting their IEP goals? And obviously other things as we get going, but really trying to be self-reflective all the time, but determine, are we doing the right work, and are we seeing progress and growth? The family engagement piece, again, I think that's going to be a cornerstone of all of the programs, really at SEP in general. Renew teachers, administrator, counselor will provide ongoing and frequent updates to parents regarding their students' progress. I will tell you just anecdotally from the first 9 days of school, the 2 teachers within that program have been having ongoing and frequent communication with the families that they work with, which I know I've seen then from the parent side that's being appreciated. We have home visits may be conducted as deemed appropriate. This is not a huge program. We want to make sure we don't lose somebody to all of a sudden just not showing up. And my hope is that as we go, if one, we don't run into those situations, but if we do, myself and the counselor, or myself and one of the teachers would go out and find them and find out what's preventing you from coming, and try to overcome those obstacles. And again, we just encourage all the time parents to continue to be very active in their students' education and mental health support. So whether that's if they're requesting resources, we want to have those at the ready to be able to provide what those things might be. Kind of looking a little bit further down the road, and we'll call it some big picture goals. Obviously one of the things we want to make sure we're doing is providing some ongoing training for our teachers. This is a pretty unique program. Coming into this year, I worked and looked at a lot of other districts and tried to find some similar ones, and wasn't as much out there as I thought there might be. So I'm excited that we have this opportunity for our students. But it also means we want to make sure that our teachers are growing into this role as well. So finding, whether it's professional conferences that have a focus on mental health, or them working to develop a network with, kind of similar position educators. There's Hart in Winterset that would be an example. But just prompting, helping them and supporting them as they grow some of those networks and grow in their learning. And kind of that bigger picture as they grow in that would be, as we look down the road, how can they support maybe some other teachers in our district as well? So I'm really looking to build a couple experts in mental health, social emotional learning, behavior, and otherwise. And I think if we have those experts, we want to try to provide opportunities where they can support other teachers in the district as well. So I don't know exactly what that looks like yet. It's pretty early on in the thinking, but that is a goal. That's something I know Ms. Leah and I have talked about. I've talked about a little bit of long-term goals with the teachers, and they're stoked. They're ready to go. We're just working on what that looks like and how that path, how we build that path, basically. That is me being brief. Questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
First I want to say that I think that I'm really excited and intrigued by this. This is right up my alley of interest. I just have a few, I have several questions, but I'll try to be brief as well.
No problem.
How many, what do you think will be the average length of time a student would spend in the program, if you can estimate, or how many students served at a time?
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess just wondering, and if a student, you're talking about working with the home building, is a student ever would they ever come to the Renew program directly from the home building, or is it always from the external placement?
No, they can come from the home building, certainly. And that's kind of the process, the purpose of having that referral, is, hey, we've been working here at the home building. We've tried all of these things and it's just not working. Or like I said, it could also be, we had a significant event, that would kind of trigger that as well. And then obviously then we would also have the other side of coming from some different placements. So yes, I would see it coming from both of those. There's not a one route or one path to us. Kind of answer the other couple questions. There's really not, I think every student's going to be different with what a time frame looks like. And we want to take that through the IEP process. And honestly, we want to get feedback from the student as well. We'll have, I think, inevitably students that are really, really excited and want to get back into the home building. We'll have students that maybe aren't as excited about that. So it's trying to build a plan for each one and what that looks like. And I think, again, we try to use the data and we see what we're seeing, their level of success. And as we build that, I can give you just an example that we're doing already. We have some students that have kind of split schedules. So they're with us for maybe 3/4 of their day, and they go over to the high school for a period each day. We have some that maybe are doing more half and half because they're a little bit further down that, we'll call it reintegration pathway. What we want to do, we're never going to know for sure that kind of going back is going to be successful, but we want to be as confident as we possibly can be in that. So I think kind of having that graduated approach is certainly going to help us. How many students could we serve at any given time? I don't know. I would hope that we continue to build this program in a manner that if a student needs our support, we're going to take them. That's the goal. I don't want to be sitting in a spot where we're like, if it's needed, we want to be able to support them. We also know that means we want to make sure we have the capacity to support them. But I do think as we continue to kind of implement and refine what we are as a program, I think we'll be able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I know this year is a transition year.
Yeah.
And we're currently serving in the junior high, and eventually we'll be moving into the new district office.
Yes.
Space. Besides increasing potential teacher access services, what other tools do you foresee that we might need in addition to just staffing to help with the program as the program evolves? Any ideas yet or anything that's come to mind?
That's a great question. I think obviously the first thing that we want to look for is clarity, right? And just providing everybody kind of what we are and who we're trying to support. As we look, I know on my plan for this year, leading up to this year, I try to have some conversations with some different alternate programs and see what they had. And again, couldn't really find something that really matched us all that closely. Fortunately, this year, kind of a unique experience, and we're getting to work with an administrative coach, and that person I think came from Winterset, and that's where the Heart program is. So I'm actually intrigued by starting to have some conversations around that and go out and. Not that I want to just mirror exactly what they're doing. I don't know enough about them to even say that's what I would want to do. But I think we can learn some from what they're doing and maybe pull some things that we think would help us. I don't know exactly what those are right now. I know one of the things that will help us and when we do have that transition is just the physical space in general. Right now it's pretty small and it has been for a long time. Yeah. Yep. So getting into something that's little more room to move, a little bit more of an ability to kind of build separate kind of areas within the room, I think will be fantastic. I'm looking forward to being able to play a role in that design as we get things in that room. And otherwise it's working with our staff in kind of helping them learn what this job looks like. And I think the two teachers had a very clear picture of what it looks like, what they're hoping it maybe can mold into a little bit. So I know they're doing some of their own professional growth. But outside of that, there will be many things that we'll look at.
Let us know.
Yeah, well, you know me. I mean, I'm not shy about talking. Right now, there's, kind of keeping the focus a little bit, call it today and tomorrow with the picture of down the road. Yeah.
Have a question. I
Yeah.
know that you said eventually your plan is to support, whatever student they need.
Yeah.
Right now, is it just restricted to IEPs or are 504 plans included in that?
Yep. Right now it's just IEPs. We've had thoughts of expanding. I don't know how far those thoughts have gone yet. Sure.
more, but, you know, I can use my son as an example.
Yeah.
He was hospitalized several times his freshman year.
Yep.
for, You know, and something like this would have been awesome for him to, you know, transition back in, but, you know, he
Yeah.
didn't have academic issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% don't disagree. I would say we,
Foresee that, like, maybe half can exclude the 504 plans, because that is very important.
I don't know yet. And I guess the reason I would say that, you know, with Bridget's question of kind of how many students do we see us supporting? I said, I'm not going to put a number on it, obviously. I know that, you know, put a huge number out there, 50. We wouldn't have the capacity for that, obviously right now, but you know, as we grow the program down the road, who knows where it could go.
So right
yeah.
now, if somebody with the 504 plan,
Yep.
because it's the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking a lot of kids that
Yeah.
they're gonna struggle is at the beginning of the year.
Sure.
If somebody had that situation with the 504 plan right this second.
Yep.
And you had the space, it still wouldn't be, would that be a discussion for that program would be appropriate?
Potentially. I think right now too, we also want to make sure that we're utilizing our in-building supports as well. And I think that that's probably one of the places that I would turn to, maybe and broader than just maybe saying a 504, but really any student, is we would look and say, okay, is this maybe a student that doesn't have some of these supports, and should they? And so are there things in the building that we can navigate to? Maybe the answer there is yes. Maybe the answer is no. But I think that that's something we want to also make sure we're having that conversation. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just to make sure, that's not the only path to get into this program, is having an IEP. So if a student had a 504, let's say, and they were in a residential program and they're trying to integrate back into the school,
Yeah.
they could come through this program.
Yeah. Historically, that hasn't happened. But historically, we're trying to change. So again, I think we would be open to the discussion. That makes sense. Yeah.
So you use the word transition a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of get the sense you're seeing this as more of like a triage or like an acute situation where you're gonna maybe be in this program for a short period of time, typically, before you go back to your home building.
Yeah, again, it'll probably depend on the student. I'll probably say that quite a bit too. You know, I think we could have some students that transition back in mid-semester of a year, and they come in and everything's great, and they feel like they received the support they needed in whatever placement they were in, if they were coming to us from a placement.
Mhm.
And you know, we could look at a potential kind of we'll call it aggressive. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but kind of reintroduction back into their home building. Again, I think every time we do it, we want it to be thoughtful. You know, we've had conversations with students and families where that's the stated goal, and they've kind of put a time frame on it themselves of, we want to be back by semester or by this point. It's like, wow, awesome. We want students to want to be in their home building. So then what does that look like, and what does that plan?
Have to bounce back into the program.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, we bat 1,000, right? Like we put the plan together, and if they transition back, they have immense success, and we don't see them back. We know we don't live in a perfect world, but that's going to be the goal. So it's, you know, could some students be there for a quarter, a semester? Yeah, potentially. What my goal is I don't want a student to enter the program as an 8th grader and have them graduate through that program. My teachers are great, but we have great content area experts out in the buildings. The hope would be is that they're getting out into those buildings and receiving that education from all those content area experts. So what does the exact time look like? It'll be different for everybody. But I think we would want to be optimistic in what we think we can accomplish in not multi-year stretches of time.
Yeah. Well, so I guess follow up with that. Is it possible for a student to graduate from this?
Yeah, I think when I say graduate from it, right, it would be if you received our support all the way through till you earned enough credits to earn a diploma through Southeast Polk. Yeah, I mean, it would be, I think, is it ideal? No, but you know, we have a lot of online access to Edgenuity courses that we can have them work on with us. We do have you know, some electives, you know, some students, if they go over for a class, you know, I would hope that we don't end up with a senior who's been with us for 4 years, who's never stepped foot into a classroom in one of our other buildings. I mean, I think we've probably missed our stated mission and goal with that student if that happens. And I would wonder if that were the case, the IP team probably needs to look at what are we doing and is there a better solution than what this plan is?
Sure.
Yeah.
So how would you contrast this from the Harvard?
Absolutely.
You mentioned that there was potentially some crossover.
Yeah.
Curriculum.
Yep. Yeah. So when I'd say the crossover, it's the hope that maybe we can tap into the Harbor as a resource and use those the teachers in there to help us build maybe some other alternate curriculum. How I would compare it, your Harbor is really not the focus there is probably more broad of you're just a variety of reasons you might have struggled in school. I think when we look at this program, again, I'll kind of go back to that social, emotional, mental health is probably more of a targeted concern, kind of struggles that you've had. Again, Harbor is not an IEP specific, which again, this program in its iteration prior to right now has been. So there's some differences there as well. Harbor probably looks closer to regular school compared to this, if I can put it that way, right? You still go to a couple, class to class and kind of move. This is more centralized, intensive support right out of the gate, and then trying to build from there.
Okay. And Harbor is really academic focused. Right?
Correct. Yep.
Sometimes.
Yeah, just smaller
Yeah,
environment.
Academics and mental health all kind of tied.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, well, I like how you revamped it, renamed it.
I
come up with a lot of really good ideas here. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. Cautiously excited. I'll put it that way, right? Because there's a lot of work to do, and I'm very confident that we have the right people in place for that. And yeah, hopefully we have really good things to report as we get rolling with this school year and beyond. Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, next, 2D attendance law update.
Good evening, board. I'm here tonight to talk about one of the new legislative actions that took effect July 1st, but impacts us as we move into this school year, and that is related to attendance. So we've been fortunate that we've been talking about attendance for the last couple of years. So there are some legislative priorities around this that we'll go into. But first, I just want to revisit some of the premises related to attendance, and it ties into those things that Corey just talked about as well, in terms of getting students back to school in a safe place where they feel like they have confidence and they can engage in their learning. So we know that by attending school regularly, it supports students in getting those routines in place. And routines do help reduce stress, kind of knowing what to expect day in and day out. Also, we mentioned this last year, but we did task forces with students in grades 6 through 12. And the first question we asked was, what brings you to school each day? And across the board, Amy Anderson and I both engaged in these. The first response was our friends. And if they're not in school, they don't have that opportunity to build relationships with their friends and their peers, as well as the teachers. So that is an important part of daily attendance, as well as that bottom line. That's where you have your opportunities to engage in learning. And that's what we're here for, to make sure that students get those learning opportunities. We also recognize that if you have too many absences, it could cause you to fall behind in school. And the research would show that missing 10% or 2 days a month on average over the course of a school year can make a hardship in regards to being able to learn. And it's especially true in the early grades when students are engaging in those foundational skills that are vital to the rest of their schooling. So we know they can fall behind if they miss just 1 or 2 days every few weeks. We also know that being late sometimes leads, the tardiness is an indicator that could lead to attendance problems down the road. And that absences and tardies also impact what's going on in the classroom. If we have a large number of students who've missed, then the teacher has to adjust the pace of instruction to make sure all students are getting what they need to move forward. So in terms of the revised board policy, which is revised based on the legislative actions, There are now 2 levels of attendance. The first level of attendance is defined as chronic absenteeism, and that would be missing 10%. And then the second level is a school engagement meeting, which would be put into place once a student misses 15%. And where this comes into play is this year, we looked at this overall in a school year. This year, this is done by grading period. So that's part of the legislative action as well. So we have 3 different grading periods. So for our elementary students, we are looking at this by trimester. So once they hit 6 absences, that would qualify as chronic absenteeism. Once they get to 9, we would hold a school engagement meeting. And then grades 6 through 8 are on quarters. So you can see when they would be chronically absent, when we would call a school engagement meeting, and then high school is on semesters. So you can see the numbers there as well. So that first level is chronic absenteeism, and this is required based on board policy and state legislation. A letter would be sent notifying parents of this via certified mail. It includes information related to the absences and sent when they miss 10% of a grading period. I think the difference here for families is that lawmakers have defined this absences as whether they're exempt from truancy or not exempt from truancy. So these are absences of any kind. And really what we're focusing on is the missed instruction and how can we partner with families in order to help a student make up for that missed instruction that they had. The school engagement meeting, again, it requires the student's parents, guardian, or legal custodian, and a school official to meet. And the purpose of that meeting is just to understand a little bit better about what are some of the barriers, why are we seeing some of these attendance issues, and what can we do to help. And during that time, we would put together an attendance success plan and would work more closely with the student and the family to follow that student success plan. So in order to support this new legislation, we do have some things in place. It is a goal in our district school improvement plan as we look at climate and culture. One of our goals is to partner more with families to support regular school attendance. We also have an attendance leadership team that we've met with already several times this year to take a look at the data and get the necessary notifications out to parents. We also have an attendance task force and a student engagement task force, where we're working on what instructional strategies and what things can we do in the classroom that would help support student engagement and would also support regular attendance at school. So those are the things that we will be implementing from the district level to help support regular school attendance. So we recognize that there are times that students will need to be absent from school due to illness and different things like that. And we want to partner with families to make sure that they stay on top of their studies and that they don't feel behind as a result. So what questions? Oh, I have one more, sorry. So again, it can feel punitive in terms of what this looks like, but we really want to make it be a positive outreach to be able to work with families and to support student attendance and support student learning. The research would suggest setting the goals in the positive, which is something I need to look at. I'm always looking at chronic absenteeism, and I'm going to switch that and look at the percentage of students who are meeting their attendance goals. So trying to put that into a positive light. And then the consequence of not coming to school is the missed learning opportunities. So really celebrating when a student is able to increase their attendance at school and avoiding, again, those punitive responses. Sometimes we get to that point, but our hope is to partner with families and not get to that point so that we can highlight those opportunities to learn and increase those for all students. So what questions do you have of me?
On the absentee chronic versus school engagement meetings, what was the number before? Was it 15 absences?
It was 7, 10, and 15 number of days where we sent letters home.
So, okay, so 7 for elementary, so kind of,
No, we sent one letter at 7, then
Oh,
another one at 10, and then another one at 15.
so with this one. Is it law that's dictating the 6, 4.5, 9?
Yes. It says by grading period. The law says it's 10% per grading period. And so that's what this translates into with that law.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just doesn't make sense. Why would you just make it, not you, but why wouldn't we just make it straight across the board? Equally as important for this grade versus this grade to be in there. So that answers that question, but
Okay.
so versus compared to what it was before, how does this really change what we're gonna do?
I think the biggest change is these are required. We would kind of look at each situation and decide whether or not we would send those letters. So the first change is that this is required. The second change is that chronic absenteeism is different from truancy, that it looks at absences for any reason. So the excused, unexcused is really not part of the conversation anymore. It's whether they were in school or whether they were not in school.
So we'll have a lot more unexcused absences essentially.
We won't have any unexcused absences.
They all
We'll have
get a letter.
absences.
Well, unexcused, I'm sorry, did I say?
Yeah, we won't be using excused and
Oh,
unexcused.
okay.
They'll either be absent and they'll either be exempt from truancy consequences or not exempt from truancy consequences, but they're absent, period.
What would an example of a situation that would be exempt from truancy consequences? Is that like long-term illness treatment, like?
Sick, I was sick for a few days from school. Now, there is a situation where if it's a long-term illness or there's a medical reason, if we are able to get documentation from the provider and they are able to keep up with their homework or be on Canvas during that time, then they would be counted as present as long as we have that documentation. But if I'm running a fever tomorrow and I don't come to school, that would be counted as an absence.
What about a situation if a child is too sick, say they're undergoing chemotherapy, and they can't participate in even remote learning,
Yeah.
but it's done? Do they still have to receive a letter?
Those situations, we have homebound instruction
Okay,
and that would be counted present.
okay.
Mhm.
I would just hate for that.
Yeah, no, in cases like that, we would be able to support that. So again, I think I said that wrong. If a student is sick, it count towards their absence. It would not count towards truancy.
Okay.
So when the difference between the truancy piece is just going to court versus we're just saying you're chronically absent and
Right.
you need to get
It's
your.
really putting it on a parent's radar, because sometimes those absences can add up and you don't realize that, oh my gosh, they've missed this many days. And then it's also an opportunity to work with the families to make sure that they don't fall behind.
Does it have any impact on like the college level when they have to go to apply? And I don't know if there's a absentee thing in there that.
Not to my knowledge. I'm not saying that that might not be a part of it in the future, but to my knowledge, that
So that
isn't a
really
part
won't
right
affect
now.
how they apply for.
I think applying for college would be, if you had a lot of absences, your grades would probably suffer, and that would
Okay.
impact your college application probably more.
How are we going to measure success of the letters and the school engagement meetings?
Well, we will put together the success plans, and I would say to the level that we then have improved attendance would be our success indicator.
And will the district or the board be able to get a monthly or a semester report or something like
Yeah.
that?
We study chronic absenteeism every month. Yep, we have that data each month.
So we can see
Mhm.
who's been receiving a letter, not who, but how
Yes.
many.
Yeah.
And then the engagement and
Mhm.
who've gotten any of those people back engaged.
Right. That will be the role of that attendance leadership team.
Group.
We're meeting pretty regularly right now to kind of get the first steps in place. But after we get the procedure, the protocol in place, then we will be meeting monthly to review that data, and we'll be able to share that with the board.
Do you think there will be a large number of meetings?
I don't know. It will be interesting to see what that looks like.
How it evolves this year?
Yeah.
With your group?
Yes. That is something we will certainly be keeping track of data wise.
I would throw one more thing in there. It kind of ties to Brett's question as well, as you were talking about, can we see the chronic absenteeism? So just the fact of being gone, excused or not, is part of the formula for the Iowa School Performance Profile. So each of our buildings will have that data and they'll be rated based off of that data as well.
Have we taken these numbers and applied them to like last year and determined like how many letters and engagement meetings we're gonna have, or we would have had?
Kind of. I mean, we did, I can apply it to last year's numbers, but I did not look at last year's numbers by grading period. I looked at last year's numbers over across the whole year. So I would say over 1,000 letters.
How many meetings?
Hmm?
How many meetings?
I haven't looked at that yet, but I can. I know for certain letters, we're certainly talking in the hundreds.
So, let me, now you got me. So it was obviously a year before. Now this is grading period, so you get, the high school can be gone 13 times in a grading period.
A semester.
A semester.
So technically 20, sometimes they can be gone.
27 times.
That doesn't seem like this is strengthening what the legislature is.
Well, if
Trying
they
to
are
do.
gone that many times, we've had a meeting with parents and they have a success plan.
Maybe I'm not asking the right way.
Okay.
I know I have. a
You think
tendency
it's
to-
less stringent than what
Well,
we
no, I
had
think
before?
well, yeah, because if you have 13 for a high school, so that's.
And actually, the chronic absenteeism would click in at,
27 times.
It's
Yeah.
it's really not.
so we're actually meeting tomorrow or at, high school. So chronically absent is 9. We're meeting tomorrow and there will be some students possibly on that list that will get letters
So
tomorrow.
from September to December,
December.
they can be gone 9 times. So 18 times for the whole year.
They can't be gone 9 times. If they are gone 9 times, we'll take additional action.
This year, there's a required meeting. They require. Last year, send a letter of 7, send a letter of 10, no required.
Right.
So it's a significantly, more involved this year than what we had. So it doesn't, okay, that's what I was worried about, is that at December, it kind of starts all over and you get another 9.
And I want to be careful
That's
not
not
to
the case.
send that message that you have 9 days you can take off because that's going to impact your studies, obviously. It's that if it gets to that point, we want to intervene and have a conversation so that it doesn't go any more than that.
No, I get that, we do, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to, it's a legislative issue
Sure.
that's trying to be like, are we really, is that what they're trying to do, is give them more?
No, I think they're trying to make it
Yeah.
tighter.
So once they reach 9, that's all it is for us. They don't get a second semester of 9. It's 9 and then you get to your 13 and a half
You're on a plane.
and you're either.
We start
Okay.
over again the second.
That's what,
semester.
okay. Once you
Mhm.
said,
Yes.
I was like, wait
Yeah.
a minute here. Okay, now I'm following.
So
And, okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, was the 7-10, was that unexcused?
Yes.
Okay, because to me, that might be the big difference. here.
Yeah, I
It's
believe
pretty
that will be.
easy
Yeah.
To lose like elementary, to be gone for 6 days, because whatever reason.
Right.
You know, grandma was sick or something
Mhm.
else happened, you're
Right.
gone for a week.
Right.
So I just feel like the county attorney is gonna need like a way bigger mailbox.
Yeah. We haven't, I haven't brought that piece into the conversation because we're still getting clarity and working together with the county attorney to see what that might look like. So yes, when we send that first notification of chronic absenteeism, a notification is also sent to the county attorney that gives them a heads up of this particular student. No action would be taken unless we get into the truancy realm. If a student doesn't participate in a student engagement meeting, or if the success plan isn't followed, then we get into more punitive measures. Our goal is to have a partnership that keeps us from going down that road.
So does that have to be certified mail to the county attorney, or
That-
can we just email?
No, it's an email to the county attorney, a certified letter to the family.
And I can't help but speak Kevin's language for a minute. One certified mailing is $6.
Right. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
How much is this cost.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the engagement meeting, and I'm not like saying this is overall like totally bad idea, but, then now if you've got all these engagement meetings, that takes a lot of staff time.
Exactly.
And a lot of your teams getting together
Yeah.
and trying to figure that out.
And with that, once you have a student engagement meeting, then monitoring of that plan is required weekly with parents. Not a meeting with them, but you have to send monitors and updates weekly as a result of that
task
meeting.
force is gonna do all that?
No. The task force is going to look at things we can do in the classroom to reduce chronic absenteeism.
You know, off the top of your head, what the truancy, what actual court truancy cases that we had last year, the number.
Small number.
So,
I don't know off the top of my head, but
so
very,
keep that in mind.
very
That
few.
question we'll ask again later,
Yes. Yes.
but give us a comparison.
I'll
of
get
what
that
it was.
comparison data for you.
Cause that is gonna be interesting. How many actually have to go to court now? Which could be good. I mean.
I thought of another question.
Okay.
If I'm a parent, I'm a parent, and I want to know where I'm at in this.
Yes.
I don't want to wait until I get the 9.
Sure.
My kids are in high school.
Yeah.
How can I see that today? Because I know I can go out and I can see by class, but like,
Yeah.
it's not by class, right? It's by like. entire-
Yeah, and you should be able to see it in Infinite Campus.
Okay.
So if we're sharing with families what those days are and you know that that's the date, you should be able to see the number of absences in Infinite Campus. We've redone the codes and we've redone the way we enter that data. So you should be able to see that. So we're not coding. The first column is just absent or present. And you should be able to see the number of absences.
So there's a place on Infinite Campus where I can see like, got a kid that's been out for 2 days, 2 of the 9 days.
I believe so. I'd have to see what the parent view looks like. I'm not as familiar with that.
Okay.
Are they able to see that? Jenny says yes.
Okay.
I know we can see it on the back side of Infinite Campus, so.
Anything else?
A lot to come from this, but again, we really want to stress the positive of working together to make sure students are in school, feeling good about school, feeling positive and able to learn. We have wonderful teaching that goes on and we want students to experience as much of that as they can.
And I'm sure they all want to be in class, learning all of that.
Yes, they will.
Well, I want to thank you for trying to make this clear because I know how legislation can be. So this is very helpful. And I'm sure that maybe this year there'll be some bumps in the road, but next year, hopefully it'll be very smooth.
Yep.
So.
And I think what you've all said is keeping an eye on those success indicators
Yes.
and having that data readily available to us will be important. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? For the good of the cause. All right, get a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All right,